So in today's video I'm going to be reviewing the Tiny Marvels palette by Sydney Grace in collaboration with Mel Thompson. So I've created two different eye looks today to show you the versatility of this palette. So if you want to see what my thoughts are on the Tiny Marvels palette, then keep on watching. I'm going to start by priming my eyes with the P.Louise base in the shade Rumour 02. I'm then going in with the shade Spider, and I'm applying it to the outer corner of the eyelid, blending it in. I'm then going to be using the shade Bugaboo to blend out the edges. Then going into the shade Lovebug, I'm going to be putting that into my crease. Now, taking a clean blending brush, I'm going to buff out the edges. Then going in with the P.Louise base again, I'm going to use it to carve out my eyelid. Now I'm going to be taking the Refa 21 brush and I'm going to be packing on the colour Marvel all over the lid. Then I'm going to be applying some P.Louise base to the lower lash line. I'm grabbing the shade Spider on a pencil brush and I'm going to be buffing that colour onto my lower lash line. Now I'm using the shade Bugaboo to buff out the colour on my lower lash line. Grabbing the shade Web, I'm going to be applying that to the inner corner of my eye. Priming my other eye with the P.Louise base. Now I'm going to be taking the shade Jewel Bee and I'm going to apply that to the outer third of my eye. Now I'm taking the shade Flutterby and I'm going to be using that in the crease. I'm going to take a clean brush and I'm going to buff out the edges. Applying some P.Louise base to the lower lash line. Then I'm going to grab the shade Mantis and I'm going to buff that on the lower lash line. Then using a Refa 21 brush, I'm going to apply the shade Firebutts all over the lid. Grabbing the shade Web, I'm going to apply that to the inner corner of the eye. So I just finished using the Tiny Marvels palette. It's Mel Thompson's palette created in collaboration with the brand Sydney Grace. So I definitely see like this palette screams Mel Thompson to me, so I think they did a really good job with this. The formulation, I've never tried Sydney Grace shadows, but it's a little powdery. Yeah, so the eyeshadows in this palette have quite a bit of kickback. I find that the pastel shades like Jewel Bee and Mantis have the most kickback, whereas the other shades tend to be pretty okay. Very reminiscent of like Anastasia, Beverly Hills, or like Makeup Geek. The formula's really good though, so I don't really mind. It's just something to note. Yeah, they're super duper pigmented and they blend out really nicely. In this palette you have 5 metallics, 1 duochrome which is Scarab, and then you have 8 mattes. This palette is quite versatile in the sense that you can have a natural neutral eyeshadow look, but you also have some pops of colours in here. So you have Flutterby, Jewel Bee and Mantis, which is really nice for like spring and summer. When I first saw the launch video for this palette and when I first saw the reveal, I noticed that Firebutts, this colour here, I noticed that Firebutts, so the shade Firebutts reminded me a lot of a shade from Pat McGrath in her Decadence palette. I'll insert the swatches here for comparison's sake. this shade Firebutt is an exact dupe for that shade, Sinful. I definitely recommend it if you can get your hands on it, because I know that it sold out really quickly on the initial launch. I believe they're doing a back order right now, so I'll probably link that in the description if you're interested in it. But this is an amazing palette. In the packaging, I actually really love the little drawings on the front. I think that they're very cute. Even though I'm not a huge fan of insects, I think that this palette looks really nice, and it's got a glossy finish on it, which means that if you go traveling or if your makeup gets dirty, you can easily just wipe the shadow, the powder off of this palette and it won't be an issue. The metallic shadows in here are very lovely. They feel very creamy, buttery. You've probably seen that in the swatches already. They swatch really nicely. It's very high quality. It's definitely something that I think is added to my kit, and also I don't really have tons of lavender shades, like true lavender shades, and I think that this will be a nice addition to my makeup collection. So if you're thinking about buying this palette, I definitely recommend it, but if you're in the UK, just note that you're gonna have to pay a customs fee, and the shipping I believe is like $14, so it's quite pricey. I bought this because I've been watching Mel since she was like Puffin's wife. That was her original username, and I just love her channel. I know that she knows what quality eyeshadows are like, so I already knew this palette would be amazing, but just trying it for myself, it's absolutely amazing. If you like cooler tones, then I think you would really love this palette, because you do have quite a lot of options as far as cool tone eyeshadow goes, and you also have some pops of colour, which is really nice for like spring and summer. These would be absolutely gorgeous, but you can also create like grungier, darker looks in this palette, which I think is really amazing. I feel like the shadow selection and the colour curation has made this quite a versatile palette. As you can see, I've got like a really light summery spring look on this side of my face, and on this side of my face I've done a darker, more smokier eyeshadow look. So you definitely can get a lot of use out of this palette. It's incredibly versatile. There's a bit of kick up when you dip your brush in the pans for the matte shadows, but I find that you don't really get any fallout on your face. Just tap off your brush and you'll be fine. The metallics in here are really gorgeous. They don't emphasize any fine lines on my eyes, which is really lovely, and they smooth on in like a thin but pigmented layer on the lid, and they're highly reflective, which is always up. And congratulations to Mel for this release, and Sydney Grace. They made an amazing palette. Okay, so that's it for today, and like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, hit the post notification bell to see when I next upload, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!